As far as horror-centric franchises are concerned, monsters typically don't extend past what you see. There's an underlying threat or idea behind them, but for the most part, their appearance is a surface-level horror comprised of a mere scary face. It's scary for the moment you see it, but it doesn't leave any sort of lasting impact because it doesn't aim to go beyond that. That's why there's always something fascinating about the Alien films, because the alien in general is a movie monster that has thought and consideration put into its design. The Xenomorph design in and of itself is something of a spectacle, something that's beautiful while also being haunting, something alien while also being familiar in terms of aesthetic. In pre-production for the initial Alien film in 1977, director Ridley Scott was first introduced to the surreal airbrush paintings of Hans Rudolf Giger, also known more colloquially as H.R. Giger. Working previously with Dan O'Bannon on the first failed Dune project, the screenwriter shared a collection of the Swiss painter's work, titled The Necronomicon, with Scott, the director finding particular fascination and obsession with Necronoms 4 and 5, both detailing a surreal and machine-based look at human sexuality and death, both concepts intertwined with each other in painful but sensual forms. They gave off the vibe of something primal but elegant, showcasing procreation as something cold and mechanical, a simple and painful function for our species to survive. Giger's work eventually led to him joining the project, the designs of his Necronom paintings being altered only slightly to fit into the context of the film, because in Ridley's mind, this was the alien. Having a background in industrial design, Giger's Alien began to take on elements that could actually function with a living organism. Its design isn't created specifically to be frightening, it has a level of practicality and efficiency to it. There's no stretching of reality because facets of the creature simply make sense in regards to how it could survive and grow. The creature has no nose of any kind, so elongated tubes stretch from its back to indicate a form of external breathing. Its own blood is acidic, so its whole body is encased in a special bone-like exoskeleton. And that's not simply an aesthetic, that costume is made from real bones. Real human and animal bones. There's a lot taken with the creature, and this extends into its life cycle as well, each step in the ladder being something with practical application, but then also a grotesque distortion of human shape.
I think something with human hands is always scary, very scary, so I had the long fingers. What is the most important part on the face hugger?
Phallic imagery coupled with reshaping of human ribs, hands, and physical stature, the alien is designed in mind with the darkest parts of our own existence, to create something of a dark mirror that is more ferocious and primal, but superior in every way because of that. The alien as a creature embodies the darkest fears that still surround sexuality and intercourse, which is such a sacred bond to us as people, so because that alien is so explicit in design and behavior, it conjures up immense fear with how it takes something so sacred and makes it a destructive and violent attack. It essentially embodies the darkest exploitations of intercourse, giving birth to a creature that feeds on involuntary cooperation with varying species, a sexual parasite that destroys the host, and it's frightening more so because the creature has no ulterior motive but to survive and procreate, same as us. It's not inherently evil, but it's an outside force that gains life through our destruction, a natural species that invokes extinction. Over the years, though, the creature has found itself being separated from this personal fear, this interspecies rape the more we find out about it. It started to become less of this perversion of the human shape and more of an independent creature with its own interwoven hierarchy, an ant, for the most part. It wasn't so much terrifying as much as it became interesting, and its form wasn't nearly as important as the class structure and life cycle of the creature that began to be placed at the forefront. The sequel, Aliens, can largely be attributed to starting this repurposing of the alien's image, as it introduced a new aspect to the species and the queen. The single creature found in the first film was a mystery, a parasite found on a planet with devastation scattered all around. A lone being with a hole in its chest and a room filled with eggs didn't offer any answers. It simply made you wonder what was out there. But Aliens created a different structure. It more so highlighted the search to discover more about the creature, to see the making of the nest of eggs found in the first film by having a queen alien create it. The queen's design also seems to be a little less of a biomechanical macabre statement on sexuality and more insect-like, with multiple appendages and a large sac which it uses to gestate and lay its brood. The aliens themselves, called after this film by the fanbase and the official canon as Xenomorphs, took on less of a threat in the face of a higher class. The Queen became the true threat, while the original alien and its brethren became drones. No longer was it just this dark creature that existed in the universe, some twisted human caricature that exemplified the hidden darkness of sexuality. Now it was an official species, with an official name and a class structure that ultimately separated the creature from its original intended purpose. And over time, through the many different movies, crossovers, video games, and comic book series, more and more details into the life cycle and history of these creatures were stacked one on top of another. More forms were created through crossbreeding and genetic manipulation, and eventually H.R. Giger's magnificent creature became nothing more than simply a bug that could take on different characteristics. However, none of this compares to the actual misuse the creature finds within the newest addition to the Alien canon, Covenant. Covenant as a film has a history unto itself in terms of development, initially starting out as a continuation of the initial story and theme set up by Ridley Scott within Prometheus. This new trilogy of films was initially set up to be tangential to the original Alien, with Prometheus planting the seeds to further explore the engineers and its own story, as well as characters Elizabeth Shaw and talking head David. However, as the years passed on, a shift occurred. Fan response to Prometheus and supposed pressuring from executives within Fox changed the trajectory of this new series of film, to more concretely tackle the journey of David, and charter the beginnings of the alien creature we find in the original 1979 film, a bridging between the story Ridley wanted to tell and the creature that executives wanted to push. But something was different. The major themes of the film, continuing on from Prometheus, clash against the nature of the alien in question. The android David's search to create life, perfect life, leads him to essentially birthing the alien, setting into motion events that would lead us back to those derelict, shockingly organic hallways that made up the ship of LV-426. David began to experiment, combining the practicality of science and the divine journey of godhood to create an organism birthed from a joining of his father and progenitor, using the weaponry of the engineers and the bodies of his father's species, his former masters, to create something new, a product of his search, a validation for his need to create. And so, the alien, the Xenomorph, becomes a project, a culmination of experimentation and a pursuit to achieve the closest thing to godhood, and that degrades it. Takes away all of its impact. Its initial nature is a mirror of our deepest fears, because in the end, thanks to Alien Covenant, the Xenomorph is now nothing more than a representation of an android's defiance against his predecessors and creators. No longer is it a twisted manifestation of sexual fear, a vicious parasite that lives through the death of other species. The mystery is fully gone. Every aspect of the creature has finally been laid out, and no longer does it even have the benefit of being a monstrous creature that just came into existence through its own shrouded evolution. And so in my eyes, May 4th, 2017, the day Alien Covenant was released, was the day that H.R. Giger's beautiful monster died. If you're interested in more videos from the Hybrid Network, click the annotations above to subscribe to our channel. Make sure you also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to stay up to date with news and discussions. If you'd like to support us and help us grow, feel free to donate to our Patreon, where every dollar goes towards creating higher quality content for the benefit of you, the viewer. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you all next time on Behind the Screens.